Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Calvin Tobin Show. I am your host, Calvin Tobin. Today we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. Alright, Monday Night Football was a game to watch, and it was round 2 of an NFC West rival between the LA Rams and the Arizona Cardinals, and the Rams were seeking full revenge against the Cardinals after the butt whooping they received earlier this year, losing 37-10. They did getting the win and improve their record to 9-4 as Arizona falls to 10-3, but the Arizona Cardinals still have first place in the NFC West division. Now, as for the Rams, this game, they absolutely dominated both offensively and defensively. Odell is starting to turn back into the wide receiver that we all know he is. 6 catches on 7 receptions, 77 receiving yards, and a touchdown, and now has 3 straight games with a receiving touchdown. So, was OBJ really the problem? Absolutely not. Odell Beckham Jr. is way too good of a player to actually be the problem. Yeah, ego might get in the way sometimes, but Odell Beckham Jr. is too talented of a receiver to let his team fail. And besides, as for him and every single other player, just wants to win. Now, also, on the defensive side for the Rams, Aaron Donald looked dominant as ever as he got 3 sacks on the night and got the final sack and tackle of the game on Kyler Murray to seal the deal. Unfortunately, the Cardinals did lose it, or now did downfall to 10-3, even though still having first place in the division and tied for first place in all of the NFC. They could very well be 11-2 if somehow they weren't getting every single penalty in the book to end the game. Because right off the bat, they got a holding penalty when the Cardinals got the ball back, and Kyler Murray ran for a first down. If that penalty didn't happen, we could be looking at a totally different scenario on how that game played and finished out. But the penalties were biting them left and right. Now, like I said, there is a tie in the NFC, but there's also a tie in the AFC. And both conferences have a 3-way tie. And the NFC is a 3-way tie of a 10-3 record between the Packers, the Cardinals, and the Bucks. And the AFC, there's a 3-way tie of a 9-4 record between the Titans, the Chiefs, and the Patriots. Now, out of both of these conferences, who has the best overall team and most complete team in each conference? For the NFC, it's the Bucks, because ever since their back-to-back loss between the Saints and the Washington football team, they got onto a win streak and have now won 3 in a row, and now improves their record to 10-3. And the Bucks are looking like they might make a push for a 2nd straight Super Bowl. Now, for the NFC, it's a bit iffy between the Patriots and the Chiefs, because the Chiefs are the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes getting them on a 6-game winning streak, and now has got them to the top of the AFC, so to speak, and he is now getting back to his normal ways of how he truly plays, even though after a few sloppy weeks by him, everyone's thinking it's oh, his prime's over with. So quick to judge. It's one game or even a couple games. Let the guy get back into the rhythm. But other than the Chiefs, the other team would be the Patriots, because Bill Belichick has turned Mac Jones into what might be Tom Brady 2.0, because both of them in their rookie years have had dominant years, even for being a rookie. And now Mac Jones has turned the Patriots into a playoff team and is leading the AFC, having the #1 spot, even though it's a 3-way tie. Now Mac Jones has got this team back into the conversation, is maybe the dynasty truly over and it was just one back fluke year because the GOAT left in Tom Brady? Alright, now, here is the most interesting thing that's going on in the NFL, and maybe you guys have heard of it, maybe you guys haven't, and that's Urban Meyer insulting his staff. He was calling everybody losers. With Urban Meyer, I get it that you're used to winning because you went to Florida, you went to Ohio State, and you won multiple chips within those two teams. And you are probably and arguably one of the best coaches in both of their teams' history, even though either way could be debatable. But other than that, it is a huge difference from going to college to the NFL, and everyone's already not liking Urban Meyer, and Urban Meyer's already losing it against his own staff. And he's the one that a while ago that said that trust issues and a couple other things, but trust issues was his number one, is after he listed on Fox Sports that these are the flaws to check within your team if nothing is going right. And at this point, it looks like that the trust issue and whatever's going on with him is all on him. He is the head coach, but him being the main point of issue is not a good look for Urban Meyer. I get he's used to winning in college, but the NFL is a different beast. Take it from Nick Saban. He coached the Dolphins for 2 years, from 2005 to 2007, before he went to LSU. Nick Saban, ask him on how to, and besides, he's the GOAT of college football, as we all know. I would, if Urban Meyer really wants to get this thing figured out, I would actually try and take advice from someone who's been at both levels, and Nick Saban is definitely one of them. But other than that, Urban Meyer, he needs to get his team straightened out and needs to realize that he is the leader of this team, which I'm sure he already realizes himself. But sometimes when you're too much of the issue, you may forget to realize that you're the leader. And so far, it looks like that Urban Meyer is in that situation. Now, let's talk some records. Alvin Kamara set yet another freaking record, and this guy is a special running back, and everyone and anyone can say this 100 times over for how special Alvin Kamara is. And now he has broken another record, and the record that he broke was most running back catches in the first 5 seasons, and he has the most now with 362. Alvin Kamara is a different breed and might be one of the, when it's all said and done, one of the, if not the greatest all-around football player in NFL history. He's definitely going to be one of them when his career is all said and done, but it is a lot to say that he is the best, because there are quite a few players that have played that role on playing either both sides of the football or maybe even all 3 sides of football, offense, defense, and special teams. But when it comes to strictly offense, Alvin Kamara is going to be right up there. Now, I'm just wondering, is it like, will he ever get 1,000 like Christian McCaffrey did? Because that would be another huge accomplishment, and it would look perfect with his resume, because he's gotten 700 and 800 on rushing and receiving on both sides for a couple years. Now, will he ever reach the 1,000-yard mark on both ends in one season? We'll definitely find out as his career progresses, and the dude is only in his 5th year, and the dude's just getting started, and he's already looking this scary. Having most receptions in first 5 seasons by a running back, most rushing touchdowns in one game with 6. Alvin Kamara is about to have an unbelievable career, and I can't wait for this thing to play out. Now, here's some unfortunate news for Chicago. The Bulls team has been suspended for 2 games, for their next 2 games, and the reason is because 10 players have tested positive for COVID-19. This COVID-19 stuff is starting to get back up in there as a big issue in sports, because now this is falling into basketball. Originally it was football, and then it was hockey, and now it's basketball. Might have to reevaluate the whole COVID protocol procedure, because 10 players on multiple teams across multiple sports getting COVID-19, especially it being 10 plus players, either some guy is attracting all of it to his teammates, or something is not right with the procedure on how protocols are going with COVID-19 in any sport, because now it's starting to break out, and hopefully it doesn't happen, but it's starting to look like that maybe multiple teams, I'm talking about multiple, maybe 4 or 5, depending on how well they can control the COVID protocol. There could be quite a few teams that have their games suspended multiple times during the season, and it might, hopefully it does, and I'm hoping to God it doesn't, but there's always a chance that it might get to a point to where it might be happening enough to where you actually have to suspend a whole season for that one team. Alright, now, I haven't talked about this yet, but I'm finally getting into it now, is the Heisman Trophy winner of the 2021 college football season is Bryce Young, becoming the 5th or 6th sophomore in college football history to ever do it. The other players are Tim Tebow, Sam Bradford, Mark Ingram, and Lamar Jackson, and then it's Bryce Young. So 5 players. And Bryce Young is what had an outstanding season. Now, there were a couple games in question on seeing if he really was the Heisman winner, because there were a couple games on where Alabama should have completely dominated that game, and it should have never been close at all, like Texas A&M, like Florida, like LSU. And all those games were a bit iffy on if he should deserve it, and it was leaning towards maybe Kenneth Walker or CJ Stroud at the time. But when in the biggest games, it shows that he can step up in the spotlight and get things done, and he's already done it one time in the SEC championship by mopping Georgia all over that floor, winning 41-24. Now, how well is he going to do it? Even though he's already the Heisman, how well is he going to do it in the playoff? How well is he going to do it if he gets there to the championship? How well is this guy under the big spotlight? Because that's what's going to help him when he gets to if and when he gets to the NFL. Outstanding season, 4,300 passing yards, 43 passing touchdowns, 46 total, and 4 interceptions. Not too many seasons where you see a sophomore pull that off, let alone just any player at all having multiple he had a similar season of what Aaron Rodgers had, and that's in the NFL, of where it's a 5, 6, maybe even 7-to-1 TD to interception ratio. Bryce Young has a great collegiate career ahead of him. Now, there was a top 10 matchup the other day in college basketball between Villanova and Baylor is continuing to show, even after losing a couple superstar All-American collegiate athletes in Jared Butler and in Davian Mitchell, who led that entire team mostly on defense, and that's why they were able to get to the championship and even mop their opponent in the championship by 16, which was Gonzaga, when they won 86-70. and they're still proving it, even with the loss of some great players, that they still are the #1 team after whooping Villanova, number 6, and Baylor at the time, number 2. Baylor won 57-36, whooping them by 21. Now, with Villanova scoring 36 points in this game, even though they are number 6 in every single time that they have lost, it's actually been to a top 5 opponent, which helps them out a lot on keeping that top 10 rank. But when is it going to fall? When is it going to be on them? When is those losses truly going to be on them and they fall out of the top 10? Because in my opinion, Villanova is not a top 10 team. Even though every opponent they lost to, they kept it close, except for Baylor. They kept it within 5 to 10 points. They barely lost to Purdue. They barely lost to Gonzaga. They got whipped by Purdue, and all those 3 teams were in the top 3 of rankings. So that's what's helping them out for the most part on why they are still in the top 10. But even how many losses, even with a top 5, top 10 matchup, how many of those losses is it going to finally fall on Villanova, where they are actually actually like a 3-loss team and they are not deserving of a top 10 seeding award? To me, they should not be in the top 10. Maybe just squeaking in between 10 and 12, but definitely should not be 6 or 7 wherever they got re-ranked at. Because Villanova only scoring 36 points, even though it's Baylor, and they have always had a tremendous, great defensive team, losing by 21 and only scoring 36 points through the whole game. That's definitely showing something that Villanova is not the team of what is saying on stats and or their seeding rank. Alright, that's the end of the Calvin Thomas Show. Please subscribe to my channel at Calvin Thomas Show so you don't miss out on any sports media. And please subscribe, or please follow me on Instagram at Calvin Thomas Show so you don't miss out on any sports news whatsoever. And I'm out.